It's like Mission Impossible with superheroes.
Hi, I'm Kit. This is Vernon, and we just watched Avengers Endgame. So Vernon, what did we just watch?
We got an Avengers movie that's one of the best Avengers movies so far. It's a nice send-off to the original cast of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'd say I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay, first a baseline. How much of an Avengers fan or an MCU fan are you?
I've watched almost every MCU movie.
Did you like them?
Avengers movies tend to be bloated. They tend to have major pacing issues that are a lot more obvious than the rest of the standalone superhero movies in the MCU. So traditionally the Avengers movies have not really been the high mark of entertainment or storytelling.
Okay, rate the previous three movies. Was the Avengers, then the second one was Age of Ultron, and the third one was Infinity War. And so this is the fourth one, which is Endgame.
Well, I'd say that Age of Ultron was the worst. The first Avengers movie was slightly better than that, and way ahead of them is the previous movie, Infinity War, and it was still bloated.
I thought the first Avengers was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
I wasn't as crazy over it as everybody else seemed to be.
But it was the very first movie that brought together all the superheroes in the MCU. That's why everyone was looking forward to it.
No, the entertainment-wise, people were like, wow, it's so great. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, Ultron, I didn't like Ultron.
Sorry, terrible.
Yeah, Ultron was bad.
Pacing issues, storytelling issues, everything that could make a film feel bloated.
And now for my big confession.
You didn't watch.
I watched the first two Avengers movies, but I did not watch Infinity War. Because Ultron was so bad.
Infinity War, in the storytelling viewpoint, is the most ambitious and innovative of the MCU movies. It actually ends with all the heroes being literally defeated, all their plans going to waste, and all that people die, heroes die, and to my knowledge, that has never been done ever before in an MCU movie.
Not just die, it was the scale of the death. I remember watching this YouTube critic, and he was talking before Infinity War came out, and he wasn't impressed with the Avengers movies.
Most people weren't.
And he was predicting that for Infinity War, Marvel might just kill off like one or two characters, and really, I mean, the scale of the wipeout was, I mean, nobody expected that.
He predicted that Thanos, as in the comics, would succeed in killing off half the population of the universe, but every superhero movie, people die, millions die, half the universe die, no matter, because for certain we know most of the heroes, or in fact most of them, all of them would actually be safe. It's just ordinary mortals die.
Yeah, so I think that was the kind of like the main appeal to the general public. It was just such a shock, such a dramatic ending.
Yeah, to see little Spider-Man crumbling into dust.
But then there were also critics after Endgame came out who said that, hey, wait a minute, Marvel has already released their movie schedule, and there's another Spider-Man movie scheduled for after Endgame.
Yeah, so we know for certain, as it kind of tended to happen in most of the actual comic books about Thanos and his ongoing quests to wipe out the universe or half the universe, that basically every time he succeeds, someone brings all the dead back.
Yeah, because ever since they brought back Superman from the dead, what was that, in the comics, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, but first, they brought him back as 5 different Supermen.
So after that, superhero deaths were not that big a deal because they are cash cows. They're not going to kill them off permanently. The people realize that. So the question for
Death is a revolving door. Heaven is a revolving door, as was quoted, I think, as was said by Charles Xavier in one of the actual Marvel comics.
So the question for Endgame was not whether they would bring the dead superheroes back, but how would they do it? Would they do it believably, and also
Keep the emotional and narrative impact of the previous film, as well as, you can't, there has to be some consequences. You can't undo everything and people watching the film will feel, oh, that's fine.
and even then, at the end of Endgame, would any of the superheroes be dead? There was also a lot of controversy about Captain Marvel, and there were a lot of die-hard MCU fans who said that they would be really angry if Captain Marvel was the one
Who kills
killed
off Thanos. Yeah,
and saves the day.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because Captain Marvel was, narratively speaking, not part of all the movies that we've
Yep.
watched over, I think, 11 years of Marvel movies that audiences have not found enough time to build a bond with.
And it's also the politics outside the movies. Okay, this is a 3-hour movie, and I thought
It's long.
I thought like the first hour at least was quite effective. It was quite surprising. Thanos dies quite early. There was quite a shock, right?
Yeah, and in fact, it felt like a gag.
So yeah, that was a surprise, and yeah, then the 5 years have passed. So yeah, you're gonna wonder, well, what's the story gonna be about, right?
Yeah, and the story is 5 years later, Ant-Man shows up.
And yeah, so yeah, all the time travel stuff. I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, and it's not like a total cheating way of bringing back the dead superheroes. So yeah.
Or wiping off what already happened in the first film, which some people theorized would happen.
But then it got into the middle part, the actual time travel part, which was my least favorite part of the movie because it kind of devolved into like a caper movie, and I don't like caper movies.
Yeah.
And it's also so formulaic. It's like Mission Impossible. They've got this plan, something goes wrong, and then they have to improvise.
Yeah, it's like Mission Impossible with superheroes.
The part where Thanos finds out they are like time travel
And
tricks.
decides to pull a heist of his own on the people who pulled the heist on the stones.
That was a nice twist. I was not
That-
expecting it.
yeah.
That was a clever move.
You never expect Thanos to be that smart.
Oh, you don't expect Thanos to be alive.
Oh yeah, because we killed him off in the
Yeah,
first 5
definitively.
minutes of the movie before Ant-Man shows up, right?
Yeah, so
And like, and basically the Avengers kill him off the first 5 minutes, discover that killing him off brings back no one, and everyone gets depressed.
and that killing him is irreversible.
Hooray! Great job, Avengers!
Yeah, so having him come alive as part of the time travel part, yeah, that was very creative, and dramatically, it was powerful and it made sense. It wasn't cheap.
Okay, I have a slightly different view from
Okay.
Kid.
Yeah.
I felt that the first, 30 minutes of the movie, there's a lot of filler. Yes, it served to show how depressed and in a funk, and how our superheroes have basically sort of given up internally.
It showed the impact of the aftermath
Yes.
of the finger snap.
Yeah, the aftermath of Finger Snap and the futility of killing off Thanos a little bit too late. but I felt it kind of went on a bit too long.
Okay.
I personally liked the middle part with all the heists that went wrong, because it recreated scenes from the previous Avengers movies, all except of course Age of Ultron, which no one wants to recreate because it's that bad.
Yeah, some of the recreations were nice. It's a bit like Back to the Future, or the part 2, is it?
So I thought it was a very nice touch.
Especially the Hail Hydra.
Oh yeah, the Hail Hydra moment in this one is particularly rich, but not all the time travel heist sequences were played for laughs. We had a very emotional and we had a very emotionally satisfying time travel scene involving Tony Stark.
My problem with that, and also with Captain America's emotional scene, was that it's been done before.
It has, but to me it kind of works.
And the Captain America one was kind of like a good foreshadowing for the end. That's okay.
As well as very good fan service to fans of the Agent Carter miniseries.
So like the last hour, the big fight with Thanos. So the big battle. I've just seen too many of like large crowds of people running at each other
from opposite ends of the screen. Yeah, not my favorite part of the movie either. It's too formulaic. It's been done again and again and again in almost every Avengers movie.
And if you're thinking in terms of modern warfare, which is like more
tactical,
heavy weapons based. You don't see that. This is like medieval warfare.
Yeah, you get as huge an army as possible into as small an area as possible, and it has to be an open, flat area, and you just have those two armies crash into each other. I mean,
yeah. So I mean, actual modern warfare, it's mainly about firepower.
Yeah,
and because of that, you disperse your troops, you don't concentrate them, because then they are a huge target. And in this movie, Thanos' spaceship did have a massive cannon, which could do that. A bit of a sidebar about Captain Marvel. It's quite interesting because like when she comes to rescue Tony Stark in his spaceship, there was like a nice build-up because there's this bright glow coming towards him and he doesn't know what it is. So we don't know what it is.
It's Captain Marvel.
And they spend some time, I don't know, 30, 60 seconds on it. So yeah, that was quite effective.
Yeah, but to those, I don't know what you call them, fans of the MCU, to be very fair, Captain Marvel is not given an oversized contribution in this film. She does what she does, and for the most part of the film, the task, the duties and responsibilities and the risks all fall on the shoulders of the original Avengers. She in no way takes or steals their thunder.
Yeah, but they do show her as like really overpowered.
But not to the extent of defeating Thanos. He defeats her, so it's kind of okay, I guess.
But also her entry into the final battle, that was also like very nicely done. At first you don't know it's her, so the build-up was good, right? Because Thanos' spaceship is firing the cannons onto the ground, then suddenly they swivel their guns up into the sky. So you're wondering, what is this coming, right? And then one of the good guys says, that there's something entering the upper atmosphere, and then bam, it's Captain Marvel. That was nicely done. Yeah. Even though I'm a bit caught up in the politics, and I'm not really a fan of Captain Marvel.
My problem is, like most of the fight scenes in Avengers movies, there are a lot of 1 minute no dialogue cameos by returning superheroes. Yes, from a storytelling viewpoint, it makes perfect sense to bring back other superheroes in a big battle, but the way they've been used in a lot of these Avenger films is they're just treated as filler.
But I mean, like Scarlet Witch had a good scene here.
Yeah.
Actually, it was quite satisfying because Schadenfreude, right? He sees his people turn to dust first before he turns to dust. That was like a really nasty revenge.
Yeah, it's a not really a violent revenge that most of the Avengers would have wanted, but it was
Poetic justice.
very poetic.
So after the battle, I actually was a bit worried because I knew it was a 3-hour movie, and then I thought, okay, the battle's was starting after 2 hours. Oh no, I'm not going to watch a 1-hour battle. After the battle, there's the long, extended scenes of the various superheroes, how to get on with their life after Thanos was defeated again.
We saw Clint Barton get back with his family. We saw Spider-Man go back to school. What else did we see?
I can't remember, but it felt like the end of the Lord of the Rings, like too many fake endings.
It did felt like that. Very long, very protracted, lots of false endings. What really feels like false ending? But yeah, they're trying to tie threads up, but it just feels like too many false endings.
But I think it's a natural outcome of the structure of the Avengers movies, which is also one of the reasons why I don't really like the Avengers movies so much. You've got too many superheroes.
Yeah, and too many stuff to tie up.
So, okay.
Equally, because this is the last time you'll see the Avengers cast.
The superhero movie Chronicle, which was written by Max Landis, I felt that ending actually had a bigger impact on me because they didn't have to spread your attention out, the movie's time out, over so many characters.
Yeah, all of whom, especially in the Avengers movies, must have equal weight.
So it's partly a matter of time. They just don't have enough time to really show you so much. But it's also a matter of your attention, because your attention gets split between so many characters and scenes. It's like you're channel surfing, where you can't really pay attention to what's going on.
True.
I think they did choose Iron Man's death very nicely, because the first Iron Man movie was actually the start of the MCU.
Or rather, the post-credit scenes of the first Iron Man movie was the start of the MCU.
So it's kind of fitting that this is his big
swan song.
Yeah.
And also, of the original Avengers, Tony Stark / Iron Man is the one who's had the most complete character development through the 11 years. Starts off as a self-interested, selfish billionaire who, at the beginning and at the end of the last movie, he really came across as a very nice father figure with responsibilities.
Related to that, there's a little detail that I think a lot of people don't realize, that all 3 Iron Man movies, it ends with Tony Stark saying, "I am Iron Man," but it always means something different. And Endgame also ends with him saying, "I am Iron Man," and it also means something different. So if you're interested, the first Iron Man movie, when he says, "I'm Iron Man," it's just like a revelation, a confession to the press conference.
At the end of the movie.
The second one, when he says, "I'm Iron Man," he's actually telling the government that you cannot have my Iron Man suit because it's his. Now, the third movie, where his suits are destroyed, his house is destroyed, he says, "I'm Iron Man." And also the theme of the third movie was that it's not, the suit's not important. It's the man inside the suit that's important. And in Endgame, when he says, "I am Iron Man," It's a bit flippant. It's like he's giving the middle finger to Thanos. So, I mean, that's a good way to go out. So, the first Avengers movie had quite a large budget.
220 million.
So, Marvel was definitely expecting it to be big.
It made 1.4 or 1.5.
Yeah, so I don't think they expected it to be that big.
Yeah, because it was up to that point, it was the highest grossing MCU movie, despite being bloated, despite having pacing issues and all the typical problems that we've already mentioned before. Even that cropped up, even with this movie, it still made a lot of moolah.
So the second Avengers movie had a slight bump.
A slight fall.
A slight bump in the budget.
Slight bump in the budget, but a slight fall in the box office. But hey, it was still a success.
So the third movie, also another slight bump in the budget.
But a very, very huge increase in box office. 2 million, was it?
Billion.
Yeah. For Avengers Endgame, the budget was basically approved at the same time as the budget for Infinity War. So a lot of people are theorizing that both movies were made with the same budget.
Judging from the reactions of the people I know and also what I've read,
as well as our personal reactions to this movie,
and I'm talking about the reactions before and after watching the movie, Infinity War grossed about 2 billion US worldwide. So definitely Endgame will make more than that. The question is how much more? So you want to take any bets?
I'd say 3 billion.
Yeah, I would say 2.5 billion easy.
Easy.
Likely 3 billion.
My reasons for 3 billion and likely 3 billion is because this is the swan song for almost all the original Avengers cast.
And people were so worked up after the end of Infinity War.
So I think they would watch this again and again several times, just so that they can get over or come to terms with not seeing the Avengers ever again. And in fact, this movie does not end with the usual "The Avengers will return" subtitles.
And we watched the 1 p.m. show on Thursday, the second day of the release, and the theater was like 3/4 full. And also during the end credits, there was a lot of chatter. The people were like discussing the movie among themselves. So I do not remember seeing an audience reaction like that before. I think the movie would satisfy the people who really,
the loyal fans, really.
Not just the loyal fans, because the 2 billion gross of Infinity War, that is a large public that doesn't see a lot of superhero movies. It is emotionally satisfying, dramatically satisfying for the general public and even for movie buffs like us or comic book fans.
Yeah, in fact, it's emotionally satisfying in a way that even a lot of Marvel standalone movies aren't. And we're saying this as a really, really, really huge compliment to an Avengers movie.
But I cannot let them off so lightly. I have one bonus nitpick. I'm talking about the end scene where they send Captain America back to give back the Infinity Stones. And it seemed a bit strange to me. Why would they do it in the middle of a forest? I mean, what if it rains? What if a leaf gets blown into the machine? And then, yeah, it's just a setup for the end where the old Captain America sits nicely on a bench.
Not very far from where they are.
Yeah, so they just wanted a nice country. They just wanted a nice scenic scene to for him to have this final scene. I mean, it wouldn't have so much impact if the old Captain America was like sitting outside Tony Stark's laboratory, right? And also, you want trees. You want a nice outdoor scene to fit the mood. So
Soft lighting, soft outdoors lighting.
So that was quite obvious to me. That was like, it threw me out of the movie a bit. That, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
My nitpick is rather different. I feel that this was a very, very satisfying conclusion, but it was so conclusive. It was perhaps too conclusive that there's nothing to build the next set of MCU movies on. Avengers are not coming back. You've concluded a really, really, really long 11 years running arc, story arc, and basically they've left no breathing space for what can actually come after.
You are so wrong. We will see. We will see.
Yeah, aside from Spider-Man probably being the linchpin of the next set of Marvel movies, because I don't think it's going to be Captain Marvel. I feel that the alternate timeline detail and plot didn't quite work because it adds too much complexity and too much paradoxes. The science behind this film, not the storytelling, the science or the scienciness of this film would have been a lot more believable had they not brought in alternate timelines and just start with leaving things not with the explanation that they can undo the damage by going the past but not changing the past.
Okay, in terms of science, I have a very low bar for science in superhero movies, especially in the MCU. So for me, it's whether they create a compelling enough story that you want to believe the science, no matter how garbage it is.
Or the story is so compelling that you're distracted.
But the eigenvalue talk was kind of nice.
I had no idea what an eigenvalue is. It sounded sciencey enough.
Oh, it's maths.
Aside from Spider-Man and maybe Doctor Strange and maybe Black Panther, I don't really see that much of an arc or a huge hype for any arc beyond this.
Okay. Anyway, I disagree, but anyway, all that's in the future. In the meanwhile, let's toast to the first 3 billion movie in history.